Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video we will be looking at AQA AS Psychology Specimen 2 Paper 1 Exemplar Answers for Social Influence, which you need to know for AQA A-Level Psychology. I hope you enjoy this video and find it helpful. Let's get started. Please note that these answers have been produced with knowledge of the mark scheme but have not been approved by the mark scheme themselves. There are 3 assessment objectives, AOs, in psychology. In this video they are color-coded. AO1 Knowledge, purple. AO2 Application, blue. AO3 Evaluation, red and green. In AS there are 12 mark questions, instead of 16 mark questions. For the purpose of this video and to avoid confusion for A-Level, the 12 mark questions have been turned into 16 mark questions. Question 1. Which 2 of the following statements about Zimbardo's prison study are correct? Shade 2 boxes only. The study showed how. 2 marks. A. Roles affect behavior. B. People obey authority. C. Unanimity affects behavior. D. People conform to the majority. E. Behavior is influenced by loss of identity. A. Roles affect behavior and E. Behavior is influenced by loss of identity. Question 2. Many people have criticized Zimbardo's prison study. Identify and briefly discuss 2 reasons why people have criticized Zimbardo's prison study. 6 marks. One reason why Zimbardo's research has been criticized is because his study broke several ethical guidelines. For the prisoners, the study lacks protection from psychological distress through chanting, crying, shouting, and physical hunger strikes, confinement, sleep disturbance, harm. For example, one prisoner had to be released after 36 hours because of uncontrollable bursts of screaming, crying, and anger. Multiple prisoners left the experiment early because of their adverse reactions to the physical and mental torment, experiencing incidents of humiliation and distress. Furthermore, some of the guards reported feelings of anxiety and guilt as a result of their actions during the Stanford prison experiment. On top of this, prisoners experienced a lack of privacy, as they were strip-searched and arrested in their own homes. Lack of informed consent as the participants did not consent to being arrested at their own homes, most likely because Zimbardo wanted the arrests to come as a surprise to supposedly make the experience more real. This was a major breach of the ethics of Zimbardo's own contract that all participants had signed. Lack of informed consent as when one asked to leave, Zimbardo made an attempt to make them stay. The guards were allowed to induce feelings of boredom, frustration, arbitrariness, and powerlessness among the inmates. This created a pervasive atmosphere where prisoners genuinely believed and even reinforced among each other that they couldn't leave the experiment until their sentence was completed, mirroring the inescapability of a real prison. One issue arose because Zimbardo was both lead researcher and prison superintendent. This limited Zimbardo's ability to protect his participants from harm because his superintendent role conflicted with his lead researcher role. This is a limitation because it suggests that the safety and well-being of the participants. The challenging situations participants face in these studies are quite intense. A second reason why Zimbardo's research has been criticized is because his study lacked population validity. The sample only consisted of college students. People of this age often lack experience within the real world as a result of being indoctrinated into the education system for the majority of their lives, and therefore are much easier to influence. The study does not demonstrate what would happen if the participant were of a different generation or older and therefore had more experience in the world and more knowledge. This is a limitation because it suggests that the results of this study cannot be generalized to other age groups, e.g. senior citizens. Question 3. Social influence research helps us to understand how it is possible to change people's behavior, for example, understanding how to persuade people to eat more healthily. With reference to this example of social change, explain how psychology might affect the economy. 4 marks. Social influence research tells us how behavior and attitudes can be changed, e.g. how minority influence can be exerted or how people tend to conform to perceived norms, or reference to any other relevant social influence process. In this case, the resulting change of eating more healthily means that people should be more healthy. The economic implications of this are that it saves health service and care resources, meaning less time off work sick. Read the item and then answer the question that follows. Polly always checks what her friends are going to wear before she gets ready to go out because she does not like to be the odd one out. Jed watches his colleagues carefully when he starts a new job so that he can work out where to put his things and how long to take for lunch. Question 4. Discuss 2 explanations for conformity. Refer to Polly and Jed in your discussion. 16 marks. Psychological research has provided 2 explanations to explain why people conform: informational social influence and normative social influence. Informational social influence, ISI, is about information and a desire to be right. It occurs when an individual accepts information from others as evidence about reality because humans have a need to be accepted but also the need to feel confident that their perceptions and beliefs as right. It can occur in situations that are ambiguous where it isn't clear what is right, where decisions have to be made quickly, where an individual cannot rely on an objective test, comparing against facts, or where one person or a group is regarded as having more expertise. It is associated with internalization, where an individual changes both their public behavior and their private beliefs on a long-term basis. An individual's conformity in public behavior and private beliefs is the result of an individual adopting a new belief system, because they genuinely believe that their new behaviors and beliefs are right. Jed conformed as a result of informational social influence as he is using his colleagues as a source of information in order to put his coat in the right place and take the appropriate amount of time for lunch. A strength of ISI is that there is research to support the idea that people conform for a desire to be right. Jeunesse, 1932, conducted a laboratory study to investigate whether individuals will change their opinion in ambiguous, unclear situations in response to group discussions. Jeunesse found that nearly all the participants changed their original answer when they were provided with another opportunity to estimate the number of beans in the glass jar. On average, male participants changed their answer by 256 beans and female participants changed their answers by 382 beans. Female participants conformed more. The range of the whole group went from 1875 before discussion to 474 afterwards, decrease of 75%. This is a strength because it suggests that people conform to be right. However, a limitation of Jeunesse research is that the study lacks control over extraneous variables. The study was conducted in a group setting, where individual differences, e.g. personality traits and external factors, could have influenced the results, e.g. Ask, 1955, found that students were less conformist, 28%, than other participants, 37%. Perrin and Spencer, 1980, found that in approximate 400 trials only 1 engineering students conformed. This suggests that students conform less than other subgroups of the population. This experimental flaw meant that Jeunesse was unable to identify specific extraneous variables, which may have impacted the results. A control would have allowed Jeunesse to isolate key factors that determine conformity rates. This is a limitation because it suggests that Jeunesse study cannot draw valid conclusions on conformity, as the lack of control over extraneous variables makes it challenging to isolate the specific impact of the independent variable on the participant's behavior accurately. Normative social influence, NSI, is about norms and a desire to behave like others and fit in with a group. It occurs when an individual goes along with the group majority without them personally accepting their point of view, because humans are social species and are believed to have a fundamental need for social companionship while fearing censure and rejection. It can occur in situations where an individual feels they are being observed or are under surveillance from a group, in unfamiliar situations with people known to an individual as individuals are concerned with the social approval of friends, in stressful situations where an individual has a need for social support, or in situations where the norms are unknown and individuals look to others for a reference of how to behave. It associated with compliance where people change their public behavior but not their private beliefs, and identification where people change their public behavior and their private beliefs when in the presence of the group on a short-term basis. An individual's conformity to the majority position publicly without internalizing the viewpoint or carrying over the same behavior to a private setting is the result of an individual conforming to be accepted and approved by a group because it is socially rewarding and an individual need and desire to avoid social rejection and disapproval. Polly's change in behavior is due to normative social influence because she is wanting to be the same as everyone else and be part of the norm in order to avoid social rejection. A strength of NSI is that there is research to support the idea that people conform in order to fit in and avoid social rejection. Ask, 1951, conducted a line judgment study to investigate where her people would conform to an obviously wrong answer. He found that on the critical trials, about 36.8% of the participants, over a one-third, conformed to the clearly incorrect majority proportion of critical trials when the participants agreed with the Confederates' wrong answers. This shows a high level of conformity, called the Ask effect, the extent to which people conform even in an unambiguous situation. 75% of participants conformed at least once during the experiment. 25% of participants never conformed. 1% of incorrect answers were genuine mistakes. 0.7% of participants gave incorrect answers in the control group. Most participants said they conformed to avoid rejection, NSI, and continued to privately trust their own opinions, compliance. This is a strength because it suggests that people conform to avoid social rejection and fit in with a group. However, a limitation of ASCA's research is that the study lacked control of extraneous variables. The study was conducted in a group setting, where individual differences, e.g. personality traits and external factors, could have influenced the results, e.g. McGee and Teven, 1967, found that students who were N-affiliator, people who care more about being liked and have a greater need for social relationship, were more likely to conform, and therefore the desire to be liked underlies conformity. For some people more than others. This is a limitation because it suggests that one general theory does not cover the fact that there are differences. Despite there being research evidence to support both NSI and IS, it is unclear which one can be used to explain the results of different studies or behavior in real life. For example, Ask, 1955, found that conformity is reduced when there is one dissenting participant. The dissenter may reduce the power of NSI, because they provide social support, or they may reduce the power of ISI, because they provide an alternative source of social information. Both interpretations are possible. Therefore, it is hard to separate ISI and NSI, and both processes probably operate together in most real-world conformity situations, which suggests that the distinction between ISI and NSI might not be useful. Thank you for watching. If you have enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more content like this. Bye.